So once upon a time, there was a mouse. And this mouse was doing all the things that mice do. He was very busy organizing and getting his things in order and getting his house in order, and had all of his food stuffed in all the pantries, and was collecting seeds and berries and nuts, and just really had it all together, really organized, and just sort of had his little community of mice, and they were all very happy, very comfortable. And then one day the mouse heard this roaring sound in his ears. And so he went to all of his other friends, all of his other mouse friends. He said, "Hey guys, do you hear a roaring sound in your ears?" And they said, "Dude, no, we don't hear anything. Like, just go back to your business and just do your things because you're comfortable. You don't really need to bother yourself with that." But he couldn't get rid of the sound. He just couldn't get rid of the sound. So he walked out of his little mouse hole, and he bumped into Raccoon and said, "Hey, Raccoon, have you heard this roaring sound?" And Raccoon said, "Oh, yeah, I know what that is. That's the river." So Mouse was like, "Really? Can you show me where that is?" And Raccoon said, "Sure, let's go. We'll go down to the river." So at great personal risk, because, you know, there are predators outside of the little comfortable mouse hole. So they decided that they were going to walk down to the river, and got down to the river, and who was there but Frog? And Frog said, "Hey, Mouse, welcome. What's going on?" And Mouse said, "I've never been to the river before." And Frog said, "You can look at the river. Go ahead and take a look." And so Mouse went over to the river and looked in it. And what did Mouse see? Mouse saw a reflection of a scared mouse and got really freaked out. So Frog said, "Hey, no worries. I've got superpowers. I live down here. I can show you how to deal with this." So what you want to do is you want to crouch as low as you can, and then jump as high as you can, and then see whatever it is that you can see. So Mouse did that. And what did Mouse see? Mouse had a vision of the sacred mountain. And in that instant, Mouse fell back to the ground, and he went from being completely elated to just completely disappointed, thought that Frog had just completely steered him in the wrong direction, and went back home and went back to all of his mouse friends and started telling everybody about what he had seen. He saw this beautiful mountain. And all of his mouse friends said, "Forget about it. Just forget about it. Just go back to your things. You're comfortable. You got a great life. Everything is just fine the way it is. Just keep on going back. Just do what you normally do." But Mouse couldn't get rid of that vision. So no matter how hard he tried, he realized that he had to go off and take a journey and go off and see this sacred mountain. So he got all his backpack ready, and he started to trundle off and went off, again, at great personal risk, because he knew that there were predators out there. And one of those predators, of course, was, you know, eagles and hawks. And so Mouse was on his way, and he's going over hill and dale, and he started to come, and he just started having this vision of the sacred mountain. And just at that time, he heard this flapping sound. And of course, an eagle swooped down and grabbed the mouse and picked him up. Of course, the mouse was just completely freaked by this time, because his worst fears had come true. And of course, what the eagle did was the eagle grabbed a hold of the mouse, and as the mouse started to relax and let go, he started to get higher and higher. His vision started to expand. He started to see a much bigger world. Of course, the eagle flew to the top of the sacred mountain, and in that instant ate the mouse. So, of course, his worst fears came true. But in the moment that the mouse was eaten by the eagle, the mouse became one with the eagle, and the mouse ended up having the vision of the eagle and was really able to see clearly for the first time and see the entire panorama of the whole magnificent world below him. So I have a confession to make, because I was one of those mice, and I lived my life in that way. And it was a real challenge for me to reach beyond into the next realm. So I was very fortunate in that I had a practice in Ottawa. I was a practicing dentist for many years, and I decided that I was going to take a sabbatical, and part of my sabbatical I went to India and I studied. I was there to study meditation, and I did that for my 2-year sabbatical ended up turning into 10 years. And so while I was there, I had a great opportunity to really develop a much deeper and more profound sense as to who I am and why I'm here and what I'm doing. And so when I came back to the States, I ended up meeting my darling wife, Ina. I fell in love, and a man who falls in love, his whole world gets completely turned inside out. and upside down. My whole world got completely changed and transformed. And so we decided that we were going to build a very new dental practice. And when we did this practice, it was the very first time we knew that we had to create something completely unique and completely different. So we decided that we were going to do something in a way that was very different. We really looked at all of the different attributes that went into building a dental office. And as we were doing this, we went around with one of the representatives from, we were working with Shine at the time, and we toured probably about a dozen different offices in the Bay Area. And one of the things that happened as we were doing this, we were in this one very beautiful office. It was a brand new, very upscale office, and we had a great connection with the dentist and the dentist's wife, beautiful, high-tech, state-of-the-art. And after being in this practice for about 20 minutes, a most unusual thing happened. I started to have an allergic reaction. My throat started to seize up, and I didn't want to be rude to the dentist that was there, but I had to walk outside, and we couldn't figure out what was going on and why that was happening. And so we started to do some research. And part of the research that we did was that we realized that there was volatile off-gassing that was coming off from the paint on the walls, that there was volatile off-gassing coming off of the carpeting, the synthetic carpeting that was in the office, and that there was also off-gassing coming off from all the furnitures and the glues that were in the cabinetry. And at the time, when we really decided that we were going to create something that was very, very different and very new, we knew we were going to create a high-tech dental practice. We just didn't know how much we were going to go into what ended up becoming the very first green dental practice in the country. So we looked at office design. We looked at what is the built environment. What are all of the attributes? You know, a dental office is really like a miniature hospital. And everything that is within it's a self-contained unit. So everything that's there, you need to be fully self-contained, fully functioning. And then we looked at what are all of the dental processes and all of the materials involved. So the software, we decided that we were going to do a paperless office and do have an all-digital practice. So we really looked at what are the technologies that we wanted to have in our practice, everything from digital radiography to the types of dental materials that we were going to use and how we were going to practice and how we were going to deliver that care to our patients. And then we looked at the ways in which we were going to administer and market our practice and communicate with our clients and communicate with our patients. So when we ended up doing this, at the end of the day, we ended up creating something which was very unique. We started out moving from high-tech and really looking at creating a dental spa, and one of the things that we incorporated in our practice was foot massage. So all of our patients get a foot massage, whether they're getting their teeth cleaned or they're getting dental work done. So we knew that we wanted to really create a very relaxing environment for all of our patients. What we did know at the time was that we had created a completely unique and very different model to deliver dental care. And so we were approached by the Bay Area Green Business Program. And they said, hey, we heard about you guys. We heard that you created this really new kind of high-tech digital office in Berkeley. And we'd really like to have you come and join us and get certified as a green dental practice. We didn't really know what that was, but we thought, well, that sounds pretty cool. What do we have to do that? They said, well, not a problem. We're just going to come in and bring 12 different government inspection agencies into your practice. And at the time, I looked at it and I said, like, you have got to be kidding. Like, you got to be crazy. Like, there's no way, like, I'm going to, open up my doors and have 12 different government inspectors come in and go through every little nook and cranny in my office. And I said, honey, it's okay. And whenever my wife says, honey, it's okay, I know it's okay. So I've learned to listen to that. And so sure enough, they came in, they inspected our office, and then they ended up using our practice as a model template for a green dental practice in the state of California. And we were really excited to be part of that wave. And so one of the things that we recognized was that when we asked patients and we asked people in a lot of different places, we just asked everybody that we knew, what was one of the things that you really don't like about going to a dentist? Or what do you don't like about a dental office? And one of the things that came up over and over again was the smell. And you know that smell that I'm talking about. It's either the smell of cloves or it's the smell of glutaraldehyde. And if you walk into those big medical dental buildings, it's the smell of fear. Nobody really likes going to the dentist. So we really wanted to create an environment that would allow people to have not only a relaxing experience, but would really allow us to have a relational experience instead of a transactional experience. We wanted to really turn that around. We also realized that when you think about five-star service, when you're really acknowledged as a whole person, you really feel good about the experience. And that's one of the things that we really decided to create in our environment. And it turned out that through all of the environmental features that we had in our office, so there was no toxic off-gassing, there were no VOCs, we realized that not only, like, we are the human beings that are in this office 8 hours a day. Myself, my team. Our patients come in for an hour and then they leave, but we're the people that are there all day, like all of us here who work in dental practices. So we really wanted to create an environment that was safe for ourselves. Turned out it was also the environmentally safe choice, and so we became known in our community as being an environmentally safe practice or a green dental practice. So we really looked at how are we furnishing our place? Like what did we want to have in there? So all of the furniture that's in our office is all made out of reclaimed wood or reclaimed teak. We looked at how could we reduce not only our energy expenditures but our costs, and what kind of lighting are we going to have in there? So most practices either have color-corrected fluorescent lights. We ended up getting involved in the city of Berkeley. They have a program called the Smart Lights program. So we transformed all the lights in our office to CFLs. And what it did was it lowered our monthly cost by about $50 a month. So that's about $600 a year. That's money that's in our pocket at the end of the year. And we really looked at, and I know that I've had this conversation with Marty, for example, about let's get real. What is the real return on investment? And it's great to say that we're going to do something good for the environment, but we also have to be practical, and we have to recognize that innovations that we take and how we choose to practice, there has to be a real return on the bottom line, and there is. And Ina talked a little bit about that in the study that she had. And all of these measures really create not only a great environment for all of us, but in terms of the energy that's there and what the practice actually feels like, and that we could do something good for the planet, and that we could save energy, we could save money. We have digital imaging in all of our operatories. We recently got the Nomad handheld digital systems. But you know, one of the things that patients always say when they come into our office is, do I really need to have x-rays? And in everyone's mind, they're thinking about everything that they're hearing on Dr. Oz and everything that they're hearing on the news about how x-rays are so bad for you. And so a lot of it is re-education. I'm surprised in dentistry that only about 35 to 40% of dental offices in the United States are digital. That trend is going to continue growing. It will have to grow. It will have to change. It's the one thing that patients always say when they come in. And we know that you can reduce your exposure to radiation by 75 to 90% and just not have any of those chemicals that you have to deal with in terms of the developing chemicals and doing something good for your patient, doing something good for your practice. We use lasers in our office. Our whole office is set up we decided to go with a rear delivery system for all of our patients. We wanted to have the technology behind the scenes. Our software runs the practice. Everything is behind the scenes. We really wanted to focus on the patient experience. What was that patient going to experience? We decided to look through an eco lens into every decision that we made. So that new patient that's coming into your practice for the very first time, what is it that they're seeing through new eyes? What's their experience? So we really tried to put ourselves into their shoes, from their perspective, rather than the perspective of the dentist. It's very easy to say, I want to have this technology, or I want to have this new technique, but it's another thing to be able to go in to the eyes of the patient. Patients don't really care how much you know until they know how much you care. So at the time, we realized that we just couldn't use those paper bibs and the paper headrest covers and the plastic things. It didn't exist back in 2003, so we ended up designing our own cloth headrest covers. We ended up designing cloth sterilization pouches. Turned out that there's about 20% of hospitals in the United States that use cloth sterilization systems. We didn't want to use those throwaway swish and rinse cups So we went to ceramic cups. We have an on-site energy-efficient dishwasher in our practice. Everything gets reused. And then we looked at, for our, like the headrest covers, for example, and our patient bibs, they're all cloth. We have energy-efficient washing machine and dryer stacked up in a closet in our office. It has a sterilization cycle, so it satisfies all of OSHA's requirements. And, of course, we put an amalgam separator in our office. And we really looked at every single way how can we reduce our effect on the environment? How can we reduce the pollution that a dental office generates? So what this resulted in, and I think that, everybody hears about recycling. When you hear about green or you hear about eco, everybody hears about recycling. Everybody talks about, well, we have a recycling program in our practice. That's a really good thing. I think the first thing that everyone really needs to, that shift, that aha moment, is a rethinking process. And as we rethink through an eco lens, it changes our world from black and white into color. And if that's the only thing that we take away from this weekend, is a rethinking. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And the returns are huge. Because as we rethink, we'll then look at ways to reduce our consumption, look at ways to reduce our waste, look at ways that we see how things are packaged, sent to our offices. When we decide that we're going to order things, that we order things in bulk, we ask the suppliers to group our packages together. And then we can have an effective recycling program in our practice. So we compost, like, for example, our lunches in our office. We compost everything. We recycle everything. Everything that we can reuse that's a paper product gets recycled. Anything that can be reused within the dental practice and maintain our patient safety will reuse. So, for example, stainless steel saliva ejectors. If you don't need to have the plastic saliva ejectors that you're throwing away, use stainless steel, surgical grade stainless steel. Oral surgeons use that all the time. Why can't we as general dentists use that? You don't need those little plastic suction tips. Same thing with impression trays. If you can use stainless steel impression trays, why not? You can reuse it, you can recycle it, you can sterilize it. So in my practice, I've had the good fortune to take care of really wonderful patients. And this is my sister, Susan. And my sister, Susan, about 5 years ago, turned 60. And she said that what I want for my 60th birthday is that I want to have my smile returned back to me when I was 18 and I graduated from high school. My sister Susan lives in Toronto, and her dentist in Toronto is a very well-known cosmetic dentist. But she said, I'm coming to see my brother Freddie in California, and I want him to take care of my teeth. Oh, by the way, my sister Susan is a dental phobic. And the other thing about my sister Susan is that there's only one person who's pickier than my wife, Ina. That's my sister Susan. So I got the great opportunity to transform her smile. And this is my sister Susan. And one of the things, we did the case, and I said to her, so Susan, how do you like your teeth? And she said, I really like them, but I have to tell you, my kids love them. And, for those of us that have kids, you know that a kid will never lie. They just blurt out anything. They tell you whatever it is that they see. If they like something, they'll tell you they like it. If they don't like it, they'll tell you they don't like it. So I was really pleased and honored that I was able to facilitate this shift and this transformation in her. Second person that I had the great privilege to work with is a really amazing gentleman by the name of J.L. He's a super, super sensitive man. He's an artist. He's a musician. He's, in fact, a very well-known reggae. He's an international reggae star based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. He would write songs about the power of a smile, and yet he would never smile. He would walk around and he would put his hands in front of his mouth. He wouldn't smile. He was traumatized as a young child. Grew up in Philadelphia, had gotten beaten up. His teeth were a mess. He went to see a dentist. The dentist did a whole bunch of stuff to him, never really bothered to explain what was done. He was completely freaked out about going to the dentist. This is what he looked like when I met him. He had a very, very healthy lifestyle, and yet his mouth and his oral health was so bad that, like, literally his breath was like you wanted to hug the guy because he's such a sweet guy, but you couldn't really get close because his breath was really bad. And you know that that the underlying basis of the periodontal disease is that there's a systemic link, and it goes into the rest of his body. So we had a chance to transform his smile. Oh, by the way, also a huge dental phobic. I would say, hi, I'm Dr. Fred, I'm a dentist. I would be like, I can't even talk to you unless you give me some nitrous. So we were able to get him very comfortable, and we were able to completely transform his smile. And this is going on 7 years. At the time when we did this case, this is a periodontal prosthesis case. At the time when we did the case, we didn't know, is this case going to last 3 years or is it going to last 5 years? So fortunately, it's lasted 7. And I really have to commend the work of our really amazing hygienists, Ruth and Lindsay, who are here today. And these guys work so hard to help maintain patients like our dear friend JL, because we make sure that he comes in every 2 months for his regular hygiene appointments. And it's only through their efforts that we're able to really make this case a huge success. The next really wonderful gentleman that I'd like to share with you is John. John was a very high-powered executive, and he was responsible in his organization for thousands of people. And he made it to the top of his field. And it took a huge toll on him. It took a huge toll on his health. It took a huge toll on his life. And his teeth bore the story. Like all of our teeth, all of our mouths tell a story. And so when we look inside a mouth, we're not just looking at a tooth, we're really looking at the whole story. Who is that person that is connected? We're looking at really the whole person. And so what happened with John is that his teeth had gotten so worn down, he didn't know where his bite was. He didn't know where his teeth are supposed to fit together. So the first thing that we had to do is we had to reestablish what was the correct relationship of his bite. We had to determine where his temporomandibular joint was supposed to lie in the correct place so that it was comfortable. And so we had to recapture his centric relation position and then get him to a place where he was comfortable. At the end, when we completed the case, the first thing that he said was, "I feel like I'm home for the first time." And what a joy and an honor for me as a dentist to be able to facilitate that type of transformation in the life of another human being. It's not just about creating a beautiful smile. I'm really pleased that we were able to do that. We did this case about 3 years ago. But it's really about being able to facilitate someone who walks into his life smiling all the time. It's just really, that's what actually really makes me feel good. I wanted to just dispel a couple of myths about what green dentistry isn't, because we hear that all the time. You guys are just a bunch of hippies in Berkeley. And, there's some truth to that in a small sense, but it's not all about granola and incense and Birkenstocks. I like granola, and I like incense, and I like Birkenstocks. But the overlying assumption, if you tell people that you're green, you must be fringe, or you're weird, or it's low quality, or it's low tech, or it's more expensive. Back in 2003 when we built our office, it was more expensive to build our practice because you just couldn't get no VOC paints. Now you can go to Lowe's and Home Depot, and you can get all that stuff everywhere. It's really easy to find all the materials that you need to build out your practice. So, for those that think that green is a fad, and you heard that from Ina, you're going to hear more from Bill Roth today about that. But, if it's good for Walmart, if it's good for Verizon, it's got to be good for our dental practices. This is not a fad. This is mainstream corporate America. So, like myself and like all of you who are dentists, dental professionals, work within the dental industry, a lot of us were chosen for dentistry because of our scientific backgrounds, our math skills, our engineering skills, our ability to perform miracles in small spaces on a daily basis, which is quite profound when you think about that we work in an area which is about the size of a postage stamp. And so we get very comfortable being in our own little cubbyhole, being in our little cave, being in our mouse hole, being in our little dental operatory. Some of us had some innovations. We had some really interesting ideas about how we thought we would practice, but we thought we were the only ones having that ideas. There are about 2 million dentists worldwide, about 160,000 dentists in the United States, about 120,000 dental practices. Most of us share that kind of lone wolf sort of syndrome. We love being solo. We love being solo operators. This is really a time for us to come out of our cave, to come out of our solo world and really join a much larger conversation. The time of the lone wolf is over. Thank you, Howard Ferran, for the work that you've been doing in terms of connecting people with Dentaltown and with collaborative platforms. It's really giving dentists a voice throughout the world to realize that we're no longer alone. We no longer have to practice alone. And what's connecting all of us is the technology. It's the power of the internet. It's the power of connectivity that's bringing us all together. And in closing, I'd like to just speak a little bit about some wisdom from the Hopi elders. And what they said was that the 11th hour has passed. We're now approaching beyond the 11th hour. The time has come. The time of the lone wolf is over. There's a raging stream that's happening. There's a raging stream of change. The internet is fueling that change. And either we're going to be clinging to the sides of the bank, holding on for dear life, or we're going to jump like that mouse. We're going to jump into the river and allow ourselves to go into that flow. And it does not have to be about struggle. That's holding on to the side of the bank. Letting go and jumping into that river, it is all about celebration. It's all about being together in this community. I'm so grateful to be here with everyone here. It's about right relationships. It's about doing right livelihood, right work, loving what you do. I've been practicing dentistry for over 30 years. I love it. I can actually say that I love doing it. It's about knowing your community, knowing your water, knowing the food that you eat, and we're the ones that we've been waiting for. Thank you very much.